we're going to go over some things in Genesis chapters 1 and 2 that you might not have seen before. It is true that some people view Genesis as primitive writing. One might ask, how could ancient people write anything meaningful for us living in modern times? But the claim from the writings is that it didn't come from ancient, primitive people. The claim within it is that it came from the one and only all-powerful God, who knew all things, who knew each one of us before it all began. We're going to keep this as fairly simple, looking at things the way a child might. Remember, Jesus said, "Allow the children to come, do not forbid them, for of such is the kingdom of God." And in Romans 1, he condemns those who profess themselves wise because they give the glory of our creation right to the creation itself, as though it created itself. And indeed, though written 2,000 years ago, this is exactly, very precisely what has happened. We even call such people professors. Note the detail even here. God doesn't say that ordinary people are all saying this. He says there will be those who specifically put themselves up above the common people. They will claim themselves wise. So the implication is that they will try to convince those of us who are thought of as more common to believe that life created it itself. And they will profess themselves wise, claiming that they know such things with certainty, that is, for a fact. And this has indeed happened. Just as he said it would, we do actually call them professors. And they hold up a scrap of pretty paper as proof that they are sufficiently wise in these things to direct the rest of us. Such papers, we call diplomas, they're not given out by God. They're bought from other men for a heavy price. Think about this. God nailed our situation 2,000 years ago, in detail. So let's consider what, in simple concepts, Genesis portrays to us. Let's start with day 1, the creation of light. There is light, but there is no sun to make it. There is light for 3 days, and then that light is seen no more, but is replaced by lesser lights, the sun, moon, and stars. It is as though the light, which is plainly the light of the world, is here for 3 days, then put in the heavens, no longer to be in the world. So this is why God gave light directly from himself, rather than by the sun, on days 1 to 3. But after day 3, he no longer gave light directly to the world, but instead substituted the sun, moon, and stars to do so. The light of the world would no longer be in the world, but now in the heavens. This matches the Gospels, and yet, here it is portrayed in Genesis 1, woven into the very fabric of the creation, the end from the beginning, but there is more. By making light exist before the sun, God was showing us that the sun was not the ultimate cause. God was the ultimate cause, and if he had not done it this way, but had made the sun on day 1, then we would never see the distinction between the sun and the light. So that some could claim the sun was the ultimate cause, but since days 1 to 3 had light without the sun is not the cause, but is merely an effect. And yet there is even more. God put quite a lot of information into Genesis 1. Day 1 could be described as the light. Day 3, with land appearing, could be described as the world. But note what day 2 did in between. Day 2 added sky to the world. The moon has no sky, so light comes onto the moon. But on day 2, the earth gained sky, and so sky was made part of our world. So with day 2 sky, light now came into the world, instead of onto the world. So day 2 changed the preposition from onto to into, and thus the first 3 days also wove into the fabric of creation itself the phrase, "the light cometh into the world." One might argue that our reasoning of day 2's events causing the change of the word onto to into looks too simple, but there is far more evidence for this as the Creator's intent than just this alone. In ancient Israelite thought, the creation of the sky on day 2 was structurally identical to hanging the curtains of the tabernacle. The scriptures themselves explicitly describe God stretching out the heavens like a curtain in Psalm 104 verse 2. This verse uses the exact same Hebrew word yeriah that is also used in Exodus 26. This word is the technical term for the woven goat hair curtains of the tabernacle. Isaiah 40 verse 22 echoes this same thought. He stretches out the heavens like a canopy and spreads them out like a tent to live in. This is the very concept of tabernacling or living among. And this is exactly what John says in chapter 1 of his gospel. In John 1 verse 14, the text states, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. The Greek verb used for dwelt literally means to tabernacle. Literal translations, such as Young's literal translation, render this as, and the Word became flesh and did tabernacle among us. This is a direct allusion to the Old Testament tabernacle, where God's localized presence and glory resided among the Israelites in the wilderness. John is signaling that Jesus is the new living tabernacle. So day 2's alignment with God tabernacling was well understood, and this would serve to authenticate the message given 4,000 years later. In a conversation in the dark, in a conversation in the night, in a conversation with Nicodemus, which should have shaken him to the core, for the man standing before him was using the language of the Creator. It's as if he was saying day 1, day 2, day 3. By stating, "The light cometh into the world," Nicodemus should have recognized that the message had been built right into the creation, and the one who stood before him was the one who built it. And why would he do this? The answer is simple. This was the most important conversation in history. Luther called it the Bible in miniature. That God so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. We've looked at how days 1 through 3 of Genesis 1 could portray the message, "The light cometh into the world." That's a pretty big claim, don't you think? And yet, from the Creator's point of view, this would likely be the most important message in the history of man. And weaving it into the very fabric of creation like days 1 to 3 did, would authenticate the man who spoke it 4,000 years later to Nicodemus. And this would authenticate it also to you and me 6,000 years later, just when we would need it. Keep this in mind. After all of history, after all of the civilizations have come and gone, including all of those that now and will exist, with all their might and power and pride, with all of the homes we have built for ourselves, with all of the cars and money we have sought, of all that, what remains? Think about that. It's all tossed away, gone. In the blink of an eye, there's a new heavens and earth, new bodies, new understanding. We've had 6,000 years to play in this sandbox, which is then simply tossed away. All of the power, all of the majesty, all of what we thought would remain forever, gone. And what do we've left? Perhaps a better understanding. Something more of an understanding of good and evil. Things we have done that we wish we hadn't. Things He has done to redeem us from all of those things we wish we hadn't done. It's pretty simple. We did gain the knowledge of good and evil. We learned something from our mistakes. And that was the plan all along, to get to know Him and His goodness better. So how do days 4 through 6 line up to portray what happened? Well, let's press on. Let's see what their days 4 through 6 portray. If days 1 through 3 really portrayed the concept of the light cometh into the world, then what might these next days portray? Where do we start? Well, the next day to come up is day 4. What came next after the light of the world ascended? Pentecost, the celebration of first fruits. So let's see how the sun, moon, and stars portray Pentecost. The sun, moon, and stars of day 4 indeed do much more than just give light to the earth. They also represent those in the plan of redemption. The sun would represent the bridegroom, just as the psalm says, the light of the world. But as the light had been directly in the world on days 1 to 3, it is now in the heavens, portrayed by the sun itself, awaiting a day yet to come. What about the moon? What could that represent? The moon is the bride. Having the cycle of a woman, her scars are there for all to see. Same as us. She has no life of her own. She has no light of her own. Neither do we. Yet she specifically reflects the light of the sun. That's S-O-N as well as S-U-N. She reflects His light to a world in darkness, to a world that does not see the sun. She reflects His light as little to some to most, and most to all, depending on her cycle. Note also how the moon represents the suitable helper, which we'll see in Genesis chapter 2, created from the man's side. The term suitable helper means same size. So note how very precisely the Creator wove this into reality. The moon is way smaller than the sun. The sun is way bigger than the moon. And yet there are those special times when they align perfectly. And those on earth, at those special times, see them align. And what is so extraordinary is that when they do that, they match in size exactly. from the point of view of those watching from the earth. They are the same size. They are the same shape. Those on earth can see that they align fully and perfectly. But also at those times, those on earth can no longer see the light of the sun, nor can they see the light of the moon. All they see from the glow of the sun that surrounds the moon, as though embracing her, is that the two are now seeing each other face to face. And it represents the time when he will take his bride. So this is portrayed over and over again to those on earth, declaring what is to come. The stars were defined by the Creator himself, directly to Abraham. So shall your offspring be. The stars represent the redeemed, the seed of Abraham, redeemed for eternity, not just for life on earth. By faith Abraham believed, and it was credited to him as righteousness, not by works, and so also by his seed, by faith, which is the work. And so the sun, moon, and stars of day 4 are the Creator's plan after the light has left the world. Their message goes into all the earth. And what is their message? It's stated very clearly. It's stated directly on day 5 of Genesis chapter 1, woven right into the fabric of the creation. It's simple. Fish and birds, born of water, born of spirit, because the air symbolizes spirit. In fact, the Hebrew word for spirit can mean wind, breath, and air. So day 5 is not so complicated. And that's why fish and birds were created on the very same day, because the message of the stars is so very simple. It's the same message he himself gave to Nicodemus. And by speaking it to Nicodemus, and letting others also hear it to write it down, we all gotta hear it and consider it. Be born of water. Be born of spirit. It's free. It doesn't cost a dime. It doesn't take a lifetime. It just takes your approval in the here and now. You decide. So what does day 6 show? The bride is taken to the man. This is why the moon turns red at the end, portraying that the bride is covered by the Lamb. This is why the sun goes dark as he leaves with his bride for the wedding feast. This is why the stars fall to earth. Their might and power now is nothing, for they represented Abraham's seed, and that has now been gathered above. Their message has gone into all the earth. So this is their final message. It is finished, but that hasn't happened yet. So the door is still open for now. Anyone who wants to may freely come in. Just ask him. Day 6 concludes with the marriage, the return of the light from the heavens to the earth, as it was on day 1. What a day of celebration that will be. What do you do now that you've seen this? Well, it's pretty simple. If you haven't yet accepted Jesus, why not do it now? Here's his message. Here's the gospel. Romans 10 verses 8 to 13 state it plainly. The word is near you. It is in your mouth and in your heart, that is, the message concerning faith that we proclaim. If you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you profess your faith and are saved. As Scripture says, anyone who believes in him will never be put to shame. For there is no difference between Jew and Gentile. The same Lord is Lord of all, and richly blesses all who call on him. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved.